Hey guys, the Joe Luca Real Estate Show is going to be starting soon. My bumper music is on right now, and we have about probably 20 seconds left. And tonight we are going to be talking about Rhode Island home prices. Have they peaked? Because we had some interesting news hitting the wires, as they say. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. I am Joe, and I'm your host every Tuesday evening right here on WNRI 99.9 on the FM dial, 1380 on the AM dial, and of course streaming 24/7 at our newly designed or our redesigned website, WNRI.com. All right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. This is episode 680 of the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. If you have been tracking, we've been on the air since 2014. So our review of mortgage interest rates. As of today, the 30-year fixed was 6.65. Last week it was 6.56. 30-year FHA 6.23 today. Last week 6.13. The 30-year VA 6.25, last week 6.15. Now this is from the website Mortgage News Daily. If you work with a local lender, you will have the most honest and accurate rate for you and your situation. These rates do change depending on your credit history, what you're buying, condo, single family, multifamily, a home you're going to live in, or a vacation home, or a rental property. Those all impact interest rates, but this is generally just a way to kind of track the trend. So everything's up about 1/10 of a point since last week. It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, because of course, there's all of this nonsense in the Middle East, and who knows what's going to happen. I just have stopped following it. I just like the fact that home heating oil this week is $3.50 a gallon. Last week it was $3.80 a gallon. Excuse me. So that is trending in the right direction. Also, I filled up and I paid less than $4 a gallon for gasoline. So that's also something that's good. That's all I'm worried about at this point in time, is the price of home heating oil and the price of gasoline, because that's something that is going to impact everybody. How much money you can spend, how much you have to put in towards bills, how much you can spend if you're going to eat out in a restaurant or get a coffee or whatever. That's something that we all have to, we all feel that. Excuse me. So tonight's show, have Rhode Island home prices peaked? We have some new data that came out, and we're going to talk about that. But first I want to, say thank you to our sponsor, NE Tiny Homes. That's New England Tiny Homes. Custom ADU builder and tiny home companies. 401-267-9794. That's NE Tiny Homes. Check their website out, netinyhomes.com, because they've got a lot of real valuable information. And of course, you can certainly call them at 401-267-9794. If you're looking to add space, income, or value to your property without the headache of a full renovation, NE Tiny Homes is Rhode Island's go-to builder for custom tiny homes and accessory dwelling units, designed to build and be built right on your property. Check them out, netinyhomes.com. Whether you want a guest house, a home office, space for family, or even a rental unit, they handle everything from design to permitting to construction. They make the process simple, fast, and stress-free. That's at netinyhomes.com. With NE Tiny Homes, you're not just building a small home, you're creating flexibility, income potential, and long-term value. Visit netinyhomes.com today for your free estimate and see what your property is really capable of. All right, so tonight, well, let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Luca, your humble host of the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. I work with RE/MAX Preferred, and I'm here every Tuesday night. My mission is simple: My goal is to help Rhode Islanders make smarter real estate decisions through education, information, and practical advice. Now, tonight's show is one of the most important market updates we've done in years because for the first time since January of 2017, Rhode Island's median single-family home price has declined year over year. Yes, I said declined. Think about that. For the first time since 2017, January of 2017. That's a long time ago. So for more than 9 straight years, we've watched prices climb higher and higher and higher. And I'll tell you, many people began believing home prices could only move in one direction. But in May, according to the numbers from the Rhode Island Association of Realtors, of which I am a member and a past president, the numbers tell a different story. The median single-family home in Rhode Island was $500,000. So I still look at that number and can't believe that's the median price of a home in Rhode Island. But it is. However, it's down 2.5% from May of 2025. Now, take a deep breath before anyone panics. Let's talk about what this actually means. A 2.5% decline is not a housing crash. It's not 2008. It's not a collapse. It's a market adjustment. Frankly, for many buyers who've been priced out of the market, this could actually be good news because sometimes people just can't get to where they need to be. And if you look at the math, 2.5% of $500,000, what is that, $7,500? That could mean the difference between qualifying and not qualifying. So let's look a little bit deeper. Closed sales in the month of May fell nearly 20%. Pending sales dropped 3.5%. Inventory increased. Homes are staying on the market longer, and home buyers, they can be more selective now. Now, I want to just put a little asterisk in that because it depends on what you're looking for, where you're looking, what your price point is. Okay, it's the median price is $500,000. So if you're looking for a $400,000, $425,000 house, those houses go very quickly. They are, there aren't many of them. There are still a lot more buyers looking for those houses. So don't think that these houses are going to sit around. Now, for the past several years, I would tell clients, listen, if you see a house you like, don't wait, don't dawdle. Today, maybe we can change the conversation a little bit. Not dramatically, but noticeably. Maybe you can take a break, wait a day or two. Because sometimes buyers have options now. Excuse me. Buyers can negotiate a little bit. Maybe ask for inspection and repairs, make for the seller to take care of those things. And again, what are you buying? What are you selling? Look at that. If you're selling a house and it needs a lot done and you want to get into another house and you have an offer in that's contingent on your home selling, and your buyer says, hey, Mr. Joe, I want you to, fix A, B, and C, or give me a closing cost concession of X. I may be more motivated to acknowledge and take care of those things because I've got another house under agreement. And I don't want to have to wait for another buyer on my house because I know my house may need some work. And that's going to turn off some buyers. So, we're starting to see in certain instances where buyers can ask for repairs to be taken care of or concessions. The key question is, Are we witnessing the beginning of a more balanced housing market, or is it simply a temporary pause? So what I want to discuss as we go through the whole show tonight is home prices, mortgage rates, inflation, jobs, Federal Reserve policy, and the new housing legislation that's being kicked around in Washington, D.C. And most importantly, what this means for Rhode Island homeowners. All right, because tonight's data affects every homeowner in this state, so stay with us. Folks, I also want to do a quick shout out to Vern Rainville. Vern Rainville is a public insurance adjuster. Okay, let me tell you something. Most homeowners don't realize when you file an insurance claim, the adjuster they send out, they don't work for you. They work for the insurance company, and that's why people need to hire. You need to call Vern Rainville, 484-300-8495. Vern is a licensed public insurance adjuster, which means he works for you, the homeowner, making sure your damage is properly documented, your policy is fully understood, and your claim is negotiated the right way. And folks, here's what I like about Vern. He's not just an adjuster. He's spent decades as a contractor. So he knows exactly what it costs to fix your home and where insurance companies sometimes come up a little bit short. So if you've had property damage or you feel like your claim came in low, don't take chances. Call Vern Rainville directly, 484-300-8495. Again, that's 484-300-8495. That way you can have someone on your side who knows the system and makes sure you get what you deserve. So thank you, Vern Rainville. Please give him a call and mention the Joe Luca Real Estate Show when you do. Now, why are prices falling? Finally. Well, let's talk a little bit about why this is happening, because the answer starts with affordability. For years and years, Rhode Island has faced three major challenges: rising home prices, higher property taxes, higher mortgage rates. When these three things happen simultaneously, eventually buyers, they kind of max out, they tap out. They're like, I'm done. And that's where we've been. I mean, consider this, a $500,000 house today with a 7% mortgage rate creates a dramatically different monthly payment than the same home financed at 3% or 4%. We're talking about hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars per month. Now, many first-time home buyers, they simply can't absorb that much of an increase. Some buyers have chosen to wait, maybe staying in an apartment, renewing your lease, moving in with family. And that reduced buyer demand, that's what's showing up in the statistics. Now, the good news, inventory is finally increasing. I think when you combine multifamily condos and single-family homes, we're over 2,000 homes. Now, I don't want to paint too rosy a picture, just like I didn't want to paint too much of a doom and gloom picture. Let's keep things in perspective. Rhode Island still has a housing shortage. It's going to continue to have a housing shortage for many years, okay? We're not suddenly flooded with homes. We're not seeing massive inventory increases. We're simply seeing slightly more supply and a little less demand. That's creating breathing room. And it may be just temporary. This is healthy, okay? Markets have to fluctuate. Things have to bounce around a little bit. A balanced market, a healthy market, that benefits everybody. Sellers can still sell, buyers can still buy, and transactions become a little bit more rational, pragmatic. instead of panic, where people were buying homes like their hair was on fire and they were going to be homeless tomorrow. Instead of having bidding wars, instead of having waived inspections, instead of emotional decision making, this is a much healthier environment. You know, if you've ever thought about adding a rental unit, an in-law space, or even just a killer home office in your house or in your backyard, go to check out New England Tiny Homes, netinyhomes.com. This is a great way to add value to your home and possibly get some income, rental income coming in to help you pay that mortgage. They specialized in customized ADUs and tiny homes. ADUs are accessory dwelling units. And the best part, they handle the entire process for you. Design, permits, construction, all of it together. Plug and play. Just check them out at netinyhomes.com. It's one of the smartest ways right now to add value and create income from your property. So just check them out at netinyhomes.com and you'll get a free estimate. Mention the Joe Luca Real Estate Show when you reach out to them, please. Now, the economy that's behind the housing market, because housing doesn't operate in a vacuum. Housing does impact the economy at large. But let's discuss today's economic headlines. So, this is like the broader economy. Producer prices increased 6.5% year over year. That's actually quite significant. The Producer Price Index measures inflation before it hits consumers. So the guys that make the widgets, their prices have increased. So that means when they bring those widgets to the market, those prices are going to be higher. So in other words, businesses are paying more. This should be expected because the cost of diesel fuel and gasoline has been elevated for the past few months. Historically, these costs reach the consumer. Maybe a little bit later, but they reach the consumer. So inflation remains a concern. Now, I was an economics minor in college, so I'm a little bit of a nerd about this stuff. And the increase in prices that we're experiencing now because of the increased price of gas and diesel and home heating oil, this is like just a market increase. It's not inflation where you have, when inflation is caused by too many dollars chasing too few goods. This was a temporary spike due to isolated conditions. So this could adjust itself back down. If it remains elevated, then it will be inflationary. So we also saw Treasury auctions. This is in the greater economy. And the U.S. Treasury sold $69 billion of two-year notes at about 4.19%. So that means, foreigners, insurance companies, wealthy people, they bought U.S. Treasuries, and they are going to, for every dollar they put in, they're going to make 4.19% tax-free on their money. So what does this mean? Investors still demand higher returns. Higher Treasury yields often translate into higher mortgage rates. Meanwhile, the Fed remains in a difficult position because inflation is proving a little bit stubborn, and some Fed officials are still expressing concern. One of the Fed board members stated, "Inflation appears to be moving in the wrong direction." Now, that doesn't sound like a central bank preparing for rapid rate cuts, which is what everybody was anticipating when the new Fed chair was sworn in. Many consumers actually believe that mortgage rates will suddenly fall with the new, Chairman Warsh as at the Fed. But let's think about that. Could they suddenly fall? There's always a chance. Will they? nobody knows, but the lesson for buyers is don't build your housing strategy around predictions, or in this case, speculation or guesses. Build it around your financial readiness. If you focus on the fundamentals, you can make yourself ready to buy a home. The right house at the right price can still make sense regardless of short-term interest rate movements. So folks, remember, pay attention. You can always refinance a mortgage. You cannot refinance the purchase price. So if I'm selling someone a house today that is $500,000, and a year ago they could have bought this house for $450,000, you can't, they chose to stay in an apartment. They paid another year of rent. The house is that much higher. Okay. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the month of May. But the overall trajectory of the housing market has been increasing. And the fact also remains, even when it goes down 2.5%, if you say, I'm going to continue paying rent and I sign a lease for another year, if you're paying $2,000 a month of rent, which is not a lot, I have people paying $2,500 and $3,000 for small apartments. So if you're only paying $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 that you just flush down the toilet because you're never getting it back. So since the market is shifting a little bit, this may be an opportunity for some buyers. Maybe the best opportunity in several years because inventory has improved. Maybe competition has eased because there are fewer pending home sales. And folks, maybe, just maybe, negotiation opportunities are increasing. So you will have the ability to ask for repairs, as I said earlier, request closing cost credits, negotiate price, maybe include some inspection contingencies. You can take a breath, slow down, tap the brakes, and make informed decisions. Now, for sellers, this is not the market of 2021. It's not even the market of 2023. Pricing correctly matters again. I had someone ask me today, they said, Joe, how come this house on such and such street, it's been on the market 5 days and they dropped the price $50,000? And I looked at it and I felt like saying, because it was $50,000 overpriced at least. So I called the agent and I said, hey, so-and-so, I said, I noticed there was a price drop. I said, it looks like a nice little house. What's the deal? And he said, yeah, they would have listened to me in the beginning. They would have actually priced it at this, not even where it is now. I'm like, okay. It's very 1960-ish inside the house. So when people get greedy, the market is the reality check. Pricing correctly matters again. I've been actually saying this all along. Preparation matters again. Presentation matters. Professional marketing matters. The sellers who understand that reality will succeed. The sellers who chase yesterday's prices may struggle. Now, for investors, what does this mean? Multifamily houses remain interesting. The median multifamily price increased to $600,000. Pending sales remain relatively stable, and rental demand remains strong. Don't forget, Rhode Island still faces housing shortages. That fundamental reality has not changed. What investors need to focus on is cash flow, fundamentals, and long-term value, not speculation. Now, trying to buy a $600,000 house for $500,000 is probably not going to be a good strategy. You know, there's a house that came on the market, a multifamily. It's nice, 3 units, 3 beds a unit. We're going to look at it tomorrow, my buyer and I. And it's listed at $379. There are no interior pics, so it's probably a mess. But even if you spent $75,000 per unit, this would still be priced below the median price of a multifamily home, which makes me think, even though I haven't seen the house yet, it's going to sell for a lot more than the asking price. This is a strategy that some of my colleagues use, and I don't like it because it brings in all this activity, and everybody comes in and like, oh, $379,000 for this house, yay! I'm going to offer $425,000. Meanwhile, offers that go up into the 500s, and it wastes everybody's time, gets people's their hopes up. But this is what's happening. The road ahead is, I want to talk a little bit about, just what might happen going forward. The Rhode Island housing market appears to be entering a new phase. It's not a crash. It's not a boom. It's a normalization. And honestly, speaking as a realtor and as just an individual consumer, it's probably what we need in Rhode Island. Buyers need some affordability. Sellers need confidence. Buyers need predictability. No one likes uncertainty. Lenders need stability. And a balanced market benefits everyone. I think we're finally getting closer to that balanced market. Slowly, incrementally, gradually. And that's a good thing. The biggest mistake consumers make is waiting for, air quotes, perfect conditions. Perfect conditions never arrive. Because what happens if you find the perfect house for you and you can afford it, but the rate is higher than you want to pay, so you let it go? The perfect situation never arrives. We live in an imperfect world. The best real estate decisions, folks, happen when your personal circumstances align with your goals. And that's something you can prepare for. Perfect situation does not happen when the headlines tell you what to do. So whether you're buying your first home, selling your current home, downsizing, upsizing, investing, or you're simply trying to understand what's happening in the Rhode Island housing market, what matters is education, information, and guess what? Having a trusted advisor. Okay? That's why it's so important to pay attention. Listen, I mean, I've been doing this show since 2014. I'm starting the Rhode Island Homeowner, the Rhode Island Homeowner Insider. It's an educational series that is for people who are looking to buy a home, but also for after the closing, because there are very few sets of material available to homeowners after closing. You're renting, you want to get yourself teed up to become a home buyer and do everything you have to do, prepare, you do your research, looking at the homes, working with a great local lender. You find the home, buy the home, you move in, you paint the rooms, you do the landscaping, you do everything you need to do, and then there's nothing else. There's no resource. Like, what do you do next? You have questions. Where do you go? Talk to your uncle, your cousin, your neighbor. It's all anecdotal. People make mistakes. You work with someone, they did a good job for that person, and then that person comes to work for you, and yours is a different situation, and they do a lousy job because they weren't experienced with your type of a house or your type of landscaping or whatever it is. Putting together this group of vendors that I'm just starting. I've been working on this for a couple of months. The Rhode Island Homeowner Insider. We're putting together a website and everything. So it'll have everything you need from lenders who do Title I loans, HELOCs, refinancing, contractors like anytinyhomes.com, inspectors, plumbers, electricians, even local, food establishments, food and beverage places, restaurants, pubs, taverns, things like that. We're going to have all of that in there, and it will be available for everyone. Because that's what I try to do. I try to educate people, have a lot of information to help you make better decisions as a home buyer or a home seller. And one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, you want to make the best decision. Here's, something that most people don't know is when you file an insurance claim, the adjuster works for the insurance company, not you. That's why you need to call Vern Rainville. He's a licensed public insurance adjuster who works on your behalf, reviewing your claim and negotiating to get you the full value you're entitled to. With decades of construction experience, he knows what repairs should really cost. All you have to do is give him a call at 484-300-8495. That's Vern Rainville, 484-300-8495. Please give him a call. He is the public adjuster. He works for you, not the insurance company. Okay. And I also want to again mention NETinyHomes.com, because NETinyHomes, they let me do this. Let me tell you a story about a conversation I had recently with a homeowner here in Rhode Island. They loved their home, loved their neighborhood, but they felt stuck. Parents were getting a little older. Kids were getting bigger. Moving just did not make sense. That's when they came across NETinyHomes. So instead of selling and having to uproot everything and everyone, they built a custom backyard home, an ADU, right on their property. Now they've got a beautiful private space for family, no disruption, no moving, and honestly, they added a lot of value to their home. They're increasing and improving the usability and convenience of their existing home and adding value to it. That's what NETinyHomes does. They design and build custom tiny homes, in-law suites, rental units right on your property. And they handle the entire process for you. No fuss, no muss. They do permits, designs, and construction. All of it. The whole kit and caboodle, as we like to say. So whether you're looking to create income, give family their own space, or just unlock the full potential of your property, this is one of the smartest moves you can make right now. So go to NETinyHomes.com, get a free estimate, see what your property is really capable of, and please mention the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. Excuse me, because we'd appreciate it. Okay. So I just want to do like a kind of a quick review over where we are. We've been talking about how the market is shifting. Maybe we're moving a little bit closer to a balanced market. We've seen some relief on the price of home heating oil and gasoline in the past 7 days. Unfortunately, we did not see a similar movement on the rates for mortgages. However, there were a little bit more. The inventory is increasing a little bit, and buyers are being a little more pragmatic. So that might create some opportunities for some persistent, well-guided, and well-supported buyers. How can you become a well-guided or a well-supported buyer? Work with a full-time, experienced realtor. Your humble host, moi, Joe Luca, realtor. I've got a lot of content online. You can go to my YouTube page, Rhode Island Homes with Joe Luca. I've got tons of videos out there, a few hundred of them. A lot of information we've talked about on the show, other stuff that maybe you should know, maybe you've forgotten. I have a blog, cupofjoeluca.com. And as I said, I'm putting together another program, the Rhode Island Homeowner Insider, which is going to be an abundance of information, insurance information, legal information, trust information, and, for investors, everything. So, keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears peeled, because that's what we're going to be doing going forward. So we're noticing that prices in May, this is June, so last month they came down 2.5% compared to May of 25. That is a good thing. Rates are still up a little bit higher, so they're probably offsetting each other. But do not, things I would advise you not to do. Do not speculate. Do not assume the market is going to perform in a certain way or not perform in a certain way. What you need to do, whether you're buying or selling, is you need to position yourself so that when you find the perfect situation to buy or to sell, you will be in a position to execute. Try to improve your credit as much as possible. Establish a relationship with a good local lender. Call me, 401-409-5030. I will give you the names of several local lenders who do an awesome job. Give you all their contact information. If it's Ryan Franti at Loan Depot, if it's Joe Baptista at Anchor Financial, Sean Hogan at Shoreham Bank. We've got Lee Conti over at Navigant Credit Union, Dave Campagnon at Bank 5, Lena DePina at Washington Trust. There are a lot of great local lenders, and some of them have some really special products that could help you out in a certain situation. So reach out to me if you have questions about local lenders, and I'll connect you with the one that best suits you. 401-409-5030. That's my number. Call or text that number, 401-409-5030, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Okay? Folks, you are listening to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show right here on WNRI 99.9 FM, 1380 on the AM dial. And we also stream at our redesigned website, WNRI.com. That's 24/7. This show is rebroadcast on Saturdays at 1 o'clock. Saturdays at 1 o'clock, they rebroadcast this show. So if you are out and about and you're out of the area for 99 FM or 1380 AM, go online, WNRI.com. You can listen to this station anywhere in the world if you just check us out on the World Wide Web. Okay. Once again, I want to do a quick shout out to Vern Rainville, 484-300-8495. Vern Rainville is a public insurance adjuster, and he is the one. If you had property damage, don't go it alone. Call Vern Rainville. He's a public adjuster who works for you, not the insurance company. 484-300-8495. Check him out. And then, of course, also, as I mentioned, NE Tiny Homes. Check them out. NETinyHomes.com is the website. They do an awesome job helping with whatever you need them to do. And mention the Joe Luca Real Estate Show when you check them out, please. Because if you just want to do some work around the house, you want to do a major rehab, remodeling, NE Tiny Homes, they do the whole kit and caboodle, and they make your life easier. But you have to go to their website. That's NETinyHomes.com, and they will get you all the information. If you don't want to do that, you want to give them a call, check them out at 401-267-9794. So they're in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut. All you have to do is give them a call, and they'll answer any questions. And of course, please mention the Joe Luca Real Estate Show when you call them. Again, that's NE Tiny Homes, 267-9794. 401-267-9794. All right. So what do I think is going on in the market overall? If when you're driving and you're going down the highway and you've got your pedal, the throttle is set at a certain point, and then you kind of just take your foot off the throttle. The car keeps moving, but it's like, it's just slowing down just a little bit at a time. I think that's kind of where we are right now in the real estate market. How long is that going to last? I don't know. Are we going to cruise with our, the speed we were going at for, 1 month, 2 months? Is it already over? I don't know. All the more reason you need to pay attention, stay informed. Check out my videos. Go to my YouTube channel, Rhode Island Homes with Joe Luca. Go to my blog, cupofjoeluca.com. Check me out on Instagram, joeluca.realtor. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay? Make sure you stay informed so that you can be prepared and you can make a good decision when the time comes. Because if the market shifts, let's say it stops this, period of where we took our foot off the gas, it only lasts for 30 days or 60 days, and then prices start going up again. Inventory tightens. Rates drop. Maybe rates don't drop. You could be caught off guard. You want to be prepared. You want to be ready. You don't want to have to speculate. Okay? Because, again, because houses are so expensive now, folks, $500,000 for the median price of a single family home. Little mistakes can cost you lots of money, whether you're buying or selling. Okay? I mean, I gave the example of that seller. They priced the house. It dropped $50,000 in 5 days. And the houses probably need to go down another 25 or another 50 on top of that. What is that going to make buyers, what's going to run through the average buyer's head when they see that? Wait a minute, this house went down $50,000. What's wrong with it? They may not even want to schedule an appointment to look at it. Or the only people that will want to look at it will be cash buyers who will come in even lower with their offer prices. So you need to stay informed, be prepared, stay educated, and oh, by the way, listen to your realtor, not family members, not friends, not coworkers, because even if you're a realtor who only sells 2, 3, 4 homes a year, and they've been in the business 2 years, okay, so they've sold 6, 8 homes. That's probably 6 more homes than the person you're talking to has sold in the past 2 years. Okay, so he or she will have more market knowledge. They will understand the market, will understand the consumer better than the person you're talking to. Okay, now, of course, the more experience someone has, the longer they've been in the market, the more knowledge they have, then you kind of get like a depth of field. And what I try to do with my buyers is I send them lots of houses to look at, so you can kind of just get a feel for what the market is doing. So you put your thumb on the pulse of the market. So then it's like, oh, that house over there is priced at that. That's probably because I know why. So when you go to look at it, it's not a total slap in the face from what reality is to what you were expecting. And why that's important, because now you will be able to identify a good value sooner and perhaps capitalize on it, make an offer, negotiate well, so you get the home, as opposed to not identifying the value and missing an opportunity. Okay. As a realtor, I don't tell people which house to buy. I will help you buy the house you want to buy, help the seller sell the house they want to sell. And I'll do everything. I'll say, okay, if you want this house, Mr. or Miss Buyer, this is what you need to do. This is how we should structure the deal. And you may ask questions and I'll answer them. Do I have to do this? Why do I do that? And I'll answer you. I'll say, well, you don't have to do that. But the reason you put down a larger deposit as opposed to a smaller deposit is so your offer looks stronger than the other offers. I call it putting your best foot forward. The seller's agent, they don't know you. You might have $10 million in the bank. They don't know that. If you come in with $1,000 deposit, that looks weak in this economy. Now, 15 years ago, when we were in the depth of the Great Depression or Great Recession, no. Of course, houses were priced a fraction of where they are now. You could pick up multifamily houses for $60,000. Now they're 10 times that. Think about that. 10 times more money. Now think of realtors. You get a certain percentage when you sell a home. Now you can make 10 times as much money at the same percentage. But the big difference is, folks, a lot fewer homes are selling, and the number of realtors today competing for those sales is probably nationwide. There were probably 2 million or more chasing the same number of transactions. So it's a lot harder. Even though you're making more money, you may only sell a fraction of the number of units that you sold before. So another thing, folks, if you are selling, find a realtor who adds value, who knows how to negotiate on your behalf. Okay. I have a buyer that I've sold him a house, and let's put it this way, he probably has moths in his wallet. And he can be a challenge, but okay, I know you only want to offer this, but this is probably what it's going to sell for, which is $30,000 more than you want to offer. I get it. We'll put the offer in for what you want, But just so you know, this is what's probably going to happen. And lo and behold, oh, I was right. Okay, so folks, if the first step, get yourself educated, pay attention to this radio show, check out my blog, cupofjoeluca.com, go to my YouTube channel, Rhode Island Homes with Joe Luca, and learn. Then what you want to do is you want to work with a full-time experienced realtor. Well, Joe, why should I work with a full-time person? I know someone who works part-time and makes $100,000 a year. Well, yeah, that's good. But folks, you can only do one thing 100%. And you're going to work with someone who collects a paycheck someplace and then is going to work on the largest investment of your life part-time. Now you might say, well, we're only looking at a few houses. It's not just that. It's everything that goes beyond that, that's supposed to be behind that, the knowledge, the experience. Understanding what are other buyers doing so you know what your competition is. What are other sellers doing? What is the market doing? These are the things that can make a big difference when you're negotiating. And as I said before, when you're talking about the median price of a single family home of $500,000 or a multifamily home, $600,000, that's $200,000 per unit for a 3-unit property. That is a big number. Little mistakes can mean a lot of money. Make a 5% mistake on that multifamily house, that's 30 grand. 5% mistake on 500, that's $25,000. Okay? Little mistakes cost money. That means you've got to carry the house now. If, let's say, something happened, you didn't negotiate properly, the house goes back on the market, carrying it for another 2 or 3 months. Maybe that's another $5,000, $6,000 in costs. And it's probably going to sell for the lower amount, if that's what the sticking point was. All right? So folks, stay educated. Put yourself in a position so you can negotiate from a position of strength when you're ready to buy or sell your home. Okay? And I just want to talk again, a quick shout out to anytinyhomes.com. They do a great job for all of everybody I refer to them. If you want to add value, space, or rental income to your home, check them out, anytinyhomes.com, or you can certainly call them up. Their phone number, 401-267-9794. And Vern Rainville, he can make all the difference because he works for you. So if you've had property damage, don't go it alone. Call Vern Rainville, 484-300-8495. He's a public adjuster who works for you, not the insurance company. Again, 484-300-8495. All phone calls are returned within 24 hours. Give him a call. Folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel right here on WNRI. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.